When these new mini Natasha Denona palettes popped up on my Sephora feed, I knew I had to try them, but then I had trouble deciding which one to get. I thought I should get both of them and compare them, let you know out of which of these is going to be worth the money, because they kind of have similar colors in them, right? So I feel like one has got to be better than the other, so we're going to see in this video. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay. I make tons of makeup videos on fair skin and focusing a lot of cool tones, so if you like that kind of stuff, be sure to stick around. Getting started in today's video, I do have a sponsored portion of today's video with Irresistible Me, so let's get started. Before we get into the makeup, let's do something about my hair. I'm going to use some extensions from Irresistible Me. They make some really great vegan hair extensions. They're easy to use, easy to style and brush out, and they just make doing your hair super quick. If you're like, you have dirty hair like me right now and you want to push it another day before you wash it but still have a good hairstyle, these are so good. And I've never seen such a good match for my hair color, by the way. I will link what shade I'm using, but it is basically my exact hair color, which is awesome. Usually pretty hard to find with hair extensions. So the one I'm gonna be wearing today is this really long straight ponytail. I'll show you how I install it. They come in these really nice little satin pouches, so they store really nicely and don't get all tangled up. I'm just putting in a really slick back tight high ponytail, which I usually don't like how it looks on my head, but I have a little trick with that. The hair extensions definitely help. This look actually works really well when you have a little bit of like greasy hair, because it just gives you more of like a slick back look anyway. So now taking my extension, I'm just gonna brush it out a little bit. Super easy to brush. So it has this Velcro here that you just go ahead and clip in, and then you just take this end here and wrap it around, and it has this piece so you get like a really smooth seamless look. I have a big hair tie and it hid the whole thing. Go ahead and just bobby pin that piece in, and that's literally it. Like, it's super secure. And I really like how this long one looks just put to the side, or you can do all on one side. Perfection. Super long, like glam ponytail. Now, if you get like sort of this like I do, because my hair is relatively thin, you can do some brow powder, or if you're even lazier, you just throw on a headband and it kind of hides like the thinner parts of your hair. And that's how it looks. It's really easy, like I mentioned. It doesn't feel too heavy. Like, even if you're a beginner, you can use this. And they do have different lengths, all different colors, by the way, if you don't necessarily want like a super long one like I have. Whatever your style is, they have a lot of different cool options. I will have their site linked below if you want to check anything out, but let's get into the eyeshadow. Just zoomed you in even more. Here are the two mini Natasha Denona palettes. We have the mini Starlette palette over here, and then we have the mini Rose palette. Oh, by the way, this is so exciting. I'm wearing Becca Pearl Highlighter. Yes, I still have this on my face today. Smashbox, I think. I don't know if they're owned by the same company as Becca, but they now have this highlighter back. They have Champagne Pop. They have a bunch of other shades. Unfortunately, they don't have Pearl, but they have a really pretty like light pink shade. And if you were just obsessed with this formula, it is out again, I think for a limited time, which is really cool. So that will be linked below as well. I wanted to mention it because I thought it was just so fun and nostalgic that it came back. So let's go ahead and open these up. I'm going to be doing two looks with each of these palettes. We'll do a more natural one, and then I'll also take a little bit more glam just to show you the versatility. Let's go ahead and start with the mini Rose palette here. You get 5 shades in each of these mini palettes. They come in a pretty simple little plastic container, and then when you open them up, you have, let's see, 3 matte shades here and then 2 shimmers. This one looks like more of a like glittery shimmer finish, and this one looks a little bit more smooth. Here are the initial swatches. So this is almost like, it definitely has some gold in it, like a peachy gold shimmer. This matte brown, which wasn't a really impressive swatch to begin with. We have this like neutral peach. You can sort of use it as a highlight if you're lighter than me. For me, this is probably going to be a meh shade. And then this really gorgeous like pink sparkle reminds me of a shade I have in the I Need a Nude palette. I will pull it out and compare. And then this really gorgeous like pinky mauve. Here's a little comparison, I'm out of focus, but to the I Need a Nude palette, in case you're wondering like what kind of tones. So this pink one here is reminding me of this one. Here's the one from the I Need a Nude palette swatched. It's called Mia. It is a little bit more subtle than this one. This one has some more blue reflect, and this one you can tell almost pulls like a little more muted, in case you were curious how similar they are. To start, I'm just using some of the Ulta Beauty matte eye primer since my lids are bare, so I want something as a base. To start, I'm going to dip into this lightest neutral. I'm going to see if this works as a transition since it is slightly darker than my skin. Yeah, it is working as a transition shade. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're any darker, this would be like a nice highlight. For me, it is not, unfortunately, but it does seem to go on nicely just as a little bit of a base. Formula is nice. It seems on par with Natasha Denona matte formulas. Next, I'm going to go into this really pretty mauvey purple. This looks gorgeous on a slightly smaller brush. I'm gonna start to work this into the crease. I think this matte shade definitely is catching my eye the most. This is nice and subtle and blendable, not too much pigment. Gorgeous tone, I think. It doesn't pull too pink or too purple. It's kind of a nice in between. I'm also just going to build that up a little bit on the outer corner of my eye. Grabbing that shade on a smaller brush. I'm also going to run this on my lower lash line. Next, grabbing this pink shimmer, which has a little bit of gold in it. I'm almost disappointed that it has that slight gold peachiness to it because all of these are looking like they go together to me. And this one is just like a little bit of a warmer pink, which might be nice if you want to add like a pop of warmth. We'll see how warm it pulls. I like to use my fingers for these shimmers, by the way. It's actually quite pretty. Made me eat my words a little bit. It doesn't pull too gold. It has a nice smooth metallic base to it, so you do get pigment, not just straight up shimmer metallic. Of course, taking this really gorgeous one. I love the reflect that this one has. Has some nice like blue shimmer in it. Looks like it's very silver based. This is a slightly more of a chunky metallic, by the way. If you've tried Natasha Denona formulas, this is one of the, I don't know if they have specific names, one of just the thicker metallics that gives you a slightly more like wet glittery look. They're really gorgeous. Okay, I'm really liking this. I love this like purpley pink. If you want to like go into cool tones but you feel like they're always like either too pink or too purple or too peachy, this is such a nice in between, literally matching my background perfectly. And then for the liner, I'm going to take this matte brown. It didn't swatch super pigmented. We'll see how it applies. This isn't a super cool tone brown. It's like a very, I would say neutral, almost leaning on warm. It is really interesting that this is more of like a neutral warmish brown. It does go with the rest of the shades, especially that peachier shade that has a little bit more warmth to it. So this isn't like a predominantly cool pink palette. You do have those slight warmer tones in there as well. So I think this look is really nice. I was slightly disappointed with the pigmentation of this brown. It's definitely a little bit of a softer matte, but this is the everyday natural look. Of course, add on some mascara for the finished look. It seems really versatile that you can get this nice natural look. You could even just do one of these shades for a super simple vibe. Let's go ahead and add some more to it, make it a little bit more glam. So to do that, that's a horrible angle. To do that, I'm going to dip into that brown that we just used as a liner. I'm going to take that on sort of this flat brush and taking that into the outer V to smoke it out a little bit more. So even though this is like a softer brown, it actually is quite nice for this kind of application when you actually don't want a ton of pigmentation. To blend it further, I'm taking the purpley mauve matte on the same brush and just smoking that into the sort of new wing shape that we have created. Fallout wise, I have a little bit on my cheek here, not bad at all, especially for a darker matte shadow. Really liking this sort of like blended wing look we have now. I'm gonna go back into the more like peachy shade just because we did some blending. I want to build that back up, and then going back in with the brown just to redefine the wing. And then I'm gonna go in with the Maybelline Sky High mascara in brown to finish the look. So there's my slightly more glammed version of the Mini Rose palette. I actually think this is a really fun palette. Like, I did get a lot of versatility out of it. If you have the I Need a Nude palette, I don't necessarily think you're getting a lot of different shadows from this one specifically. We will see how this compares to the Mini Starlette though. I'm really curious which one I'm gonna like better, but I would love to know if you can vote right now in the middle of the video which palette you think I'm gonna like better, the Mini Rose or the Mini Starlette, just based off this first one. Let me know below and we'll see if your prediction is correct. Guess we could actually go ahead and put a lip on now. I'm gonna use the ColourPop Cool BFF. And then I thought this lipstick would be perfect to go with this palette. It's the Urban Decay Vice Bond formula in OG Back Chalk. This is like a liquid vinyl lipstick. They're really interesting. They dry down, but they have a nice shine. And it's just like the purpley, perfect purpley pink. All right, reset with some more eye primer on. Let's get into the Mini Starlette palette. This one sort of seems a little more bronzy, a little more summery. Here she is. This looks like a really pretty, neutrally like coolish bronzy vibe almost. So this also has 3 mattes and 2 shimmers, one of them being a more chunky metallic, just like the Mini Rose palette. And here's the 2 palettes right next to each other. Rose palette is definitely way more pink. I don't know, on the website they looked similar to me, so I wanted to try each out and see which one was worth it. Let me know just right off of like the first impressions of seeing these which one you're gonna like better. But let's get swatching the Mini Starlette palette. This is really interesting because just with these first 4, they do lean a little bit more peachy and warm. This one is more of like a true neutral, and even this shade, like it's not too warm. It almost has a nice pink undertone. And then you have this really cool like dusty purple. So I'm curious to see once these are layered what kind of like effect we're gonna get and if it's similar to the rose palette. Let's go ahead and start with this lightest peachy matte shade. And I'm also gonna use this as a transition shade. This should give us quite a different look because we're starting with a peach. We will see though. Blends out really nicely. I'm also going to blend that same shade on the lower lash line. I do really love cool tones, but in terms of peach, this one is really nice. It doesn't pull too orange, so nice base that we have. I'm actually going to build it up just a tad more. Next, actually using the same brush, I'm going to pick up this second darkest shade in the palette, the matte, that has a little bit of this like pinkish brown hue, and I'm going to be blending this right into the crease. The shade is really pretty. I'm not sure if it's going to go with the peach. Now grabbing this mid-tone sort of copper shade, which is that nice smooth pigmented metallic. I'm going to pop this on the outer half of my eye. This is a really pretty tone. It's not too orange. Definitely like a bronzy copper vibe. And then this super pretty glitter topper shade. This has a nice unique sort of shift to it. It's one of those that has a brownish base but like a lot of silver glitter. Ooh, that is really pretty. And then we'll grab a little bit of this purpley brown shade just for the lash line. I wasn't really sure if this more purple brown would actually go with these more copper tones, but I think it like cools it down a bit, and I'm actually really liking these. As someone who doesn't love bronze warm tones, they tend to pull like too orange or yellow on me. These are really nice. Like they almost have that pink, I don't know, it's really hard to describe. I think it's just really flattering for more fair skin, or if you just typically don't like super warm gold, like rich bronze types. These are almost more of like a coppery type of look. Now to build upon this look, I'm gonna grab that same purpley brown we just used on a little shader brush. I'm just gonna pack this on the outer half of my eye. I'm also gonna really build that out on the lower lash line. I think for this one I'm gonna add a touch of, actually let's grab a brown liner. I'm gonna add a touch of brown liner. This one is from Make Beauty. I also dip back into the purpley brown over the liquid liner just to match the tone. This one got smudged. I don't think there's any fixing the patchiness, so don't mind that. But this is our slightly more glammed up look. You could go even deeper with this shade. This palette compared to the other one, the brown is not as deep, so you're not able to get as much depth if that's what you're looking for. But I'm really surprised by this. I wasn't sure that this shade was gonna go with these other tones, but it actually brings it to this nice like muted purpley place. This is like sunset in a palette. The tones are so interesting. The fact that you get those like peachy copper bronzes and then this really like rich dusky purple, so gorgeous. I didn't think I was going to be loving this one as much as I am, but it's really gorgeous. It is missing like a highlight shade, but the mini rose palette also doesn't have a shade that's light enough for me to highlight, so that's not really counting against either of them. I think between the mini rose palette and the mini Starlette palette, in terms of uniqueness for what I like, I would honestly say that the mini Starlette is giving me more uniqueness. I don't have any tones like this that I like that are slightly more warmer. I do have the I Need a Nude palette, which is just so similar to this. But taking that out of mind, if you don't have the I Need a Nude palette and if you're interested in the tones, I think this is like a gorgeous mini version of that. This shade here is so pretty, but this one I just think I'm gonna get a more unique sort of addition to my collection. They're both stunning, but I think I would ask yourself what you're looking for. If you want some more slightly more natural looks that has some lighter tones and some more pink purples, I think the mini rose is going to be gorgeous for you. But if you want something that's a little more rich, summery, like bronze coppers, but can still take it to like a smoky purple place, this is also really nice, and I think it's a great one if you're maybe wanting to like dip your toes into some more cool tones. But if you're really comfortable with neutrally copper bronze shades, this is nice. Have to decide, but I think between the two, the mini Starlette has my heart. That was it for my review and comparison of these two palettes. I hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to give it a like and let me know in the comments below what you're thinking of these new palettes. Don't forget to check out Irresistible Me hair extensions below. But thank you for tuning in. I will go ahead and put another video of mine on the screen here so we can continue hanging out. I will see you over there. Bye.